Welcome to First Downs, Fourth Downs, and Touchdowns today. I'm talking about the Palmetto Bowl. South Carolina versus number 8 Clemson in Death Valley. Clemson is currently favored by 14.5 points. However, Carolina is coming off a hot win against Tennessee, 63-38 in Williams-Brice Stadium. Then again, Clemson's coming off a blowout win against Miami, arguably their best performance again in the season. So both teams are on their hot right now. Spencer Rattler, let's just go over a stat right here. 30 for 37, which is 81%, 438 passing yards for 6 touchdowns. That was the best performance in his entire college career. He just unlocked, it's like his ability just unlocked, like it clicked, and it worked. So I've been saying it all year, Spencer Rattler is a good quarterback. And he proved me right this game. This was his breakout game, even though a little late in the season. Better than not at all. Another player, just a little shout out to Carolina Joyner, had 2 touchdowns. I think at them two, when they're both quarterback, it allows some almost some trickery. It confuses the defense. So I think that's good that they have that system working. And Jaheim Bell, 82 yards rushing, 39 yards receiving for 2 touchdowns. You probably heard this 1,000 times. He's like a Swiss Army knife, but it's right. He can do anything. He's a great player. So all 3 of them, here's a shout out to all of them. They did great. This game has become much more interesting since the 60-plus point win against the former number 5 Vols. I believe they're number 10 now in the college football playoff rankings. But Clemson is still in the playoff hunt with potentially being a one-loss conference champion. So they definitely do not want to blow the game, just like Tennessee did. So Clemson learned. They're hoping they'll learn from Tennessee's mistake. I'm not hoping that though, because of course I want them to lose. South Carolina needs to double down on what they did last week. I think just doing their offense. I can't even describe it. Where was it this entire year? It's just, I'm happy that we did it, but at the same time, I'm mad that it took this long to unlock our full potential. So hopefully, looking far into the future, we can start doing stuff like this for next season, instead of taking us 11 games to unlock it. One thing I want to discuss is South Carolina in general. It was wrote off this game. It figured it'd be a blowout. Figured we'd lose to Carolina. Figured Carolina would lose to Tennessee and then Clemson. It was just assumed those two would be losses. But this game was a new South Carolina we're not used to seeing. I have not seen it in the past 3, since I've started watching football. I don't think I've seen this Carolina. Then again, I'm pretty young, so that might be why. I remember at the press conference after the game, Beamer said that he's tired of other people writing the story for Carolina. This is their own story. They're writing it, which I'm so happy about because, he's saying this is a new Carolina, so good for Shane Beamer. However, this thing that people are calling the new South Carolina, right now, it's unproven. It's just a fluke. But Clemson's defense will be a true test to see if it's a fluke, including their offense, of course. But this offense, we don't know if it's just a one-time thing, because any team can upset a team once a season. Or, it can happen once. But Carolina, hoping they make it become a habit, so it becomes what they do. And if their offense can roll like that every game, I guarantee you they'll be in the top 15 in the country, because that was a phenomenal performance. Which Spencer Rattler will we see? The 150-yard one with no touchdowns against Florida, where only points were on a fake punt from Kai Kroger. I don't remember who received it, but that was a brutal game. Or the 400-yard plus one against Tennessee. It's just a flip-flop thing at this point. I'm really hoping we see that 400-yard one, though. As of right now, Spencer did great because there was a somewhat established run game. As of right now, CBS and Lloyd are both questionable at this time, and South Carolina has a running threshold they need to meet, is when I expect them to win, around 100 to 150 yards. And Beamer said, when speaking about that threshold, that he's never seen them lose while he was there when they did that. So I think if we have that run game start dominating, winning with the help of the offensive line, of course, in the trenches, then that run game and Rattler's ability will complement each other very nicely for the offense. We cannot have ourselves relying on Rattler like he's Superman. At the beginning of the season, all eyes were on Rattler. He was expected to be this great guy, and I think it caused him to try to force plays that resulted to picks, incomplete passes, all that. So I think if we don't put too much pressure, of course, he's our quarterback. We can't say just do your thing, we don't care. But we can't expect him to win the game just by himself. There's 10 other people on his team on the field at the same time. Let me talk about Clemson's offense now. They like to run the ball to set up the pass. Will Shipley and their other running back, I don't know the name because it's Clemson. I don't really care about them. I'm just kidding, but I don't remember his name. He is a dog. I've been saying it for a while now. I'm scared of Will Shipley murdering our rush defense, but we'll get to that in a second. And if Clemson wants to win, they need to feed him and their other backs. Should get 150 yards rushing just like Carolina. They'll wear the defense down and, wear other teams' defenses down, and then eventually they just walk all over them. Speaking of South Carolina's run defense, it has been a weakness all year. And if Clemson wants to win this game, they're going to have to wear out the SC defense with the ground game. I remember I was watching the Florida game, and I believe Trevor Etienne, I think, the brother of Travis, who went to Clemson, so Clemson fans should know who he is, or at least keep somewhat tabs on him, ran all over us. It was absolutely terrible. If they do that, then South Carolina's secondary, I expect them to creep up. And for run support, obviously, since, the linemen and linebackers can't do it, of course, they're going to have to come help. And then there's going to be openings downfield. So Carolina needs to win in the trenches up front against that run game and make Clemson's offense one-dimensional. But can Clemson's defense hold up there into the game? Short in the field for Clemson. Clemson's front seven is one of the best in college football. And if SC can't protect Rattler, let plays develop, or establish the run game, then Clemson will dominate this game just like last year. Clemson's defense is not the same as Tennessee. It will be much harder to play good offense against that team. It's much more, I don't want to say physical, because if you're in the SEC, you have a physical team. But Clemson's been proven to have a way just tougher defensive line in general. But what if Clemson's offense needs time to adjust? That's happened all season. Their struggle against Notre Dame. They've had a lot of close games. I can't remember. Was it Florida State? I don't remember. I think it was one of those close games where their offense just could not get going for a while. So, if so, will the defense be able to hold SC's offense to buy time for the offense to get a groove? Because if Clemson's offense can't adjust immediately in the first quarter or after halftime in the third quarter, and the defense can't stop SC, force them maybe 2 3-and-outs or 3 3-and-outs, then SC will have the lead and Clemson will be on their heels. One thing I want to look out for, one major thing, is South Carolina's wide receiver group versus Clemson's secondary. Juice Wells had 177 yards, and Josh Finn had 78 yards for 2 touchdowns. Clemson's secondary isn't bad, but there are things that Carolina can do to quote-unquote expose them. It's better than Tennessee's secondary, who I believe is one of the worst in college football, but it's better than them, but it's just not. If I was the coach, I would like it to be better than what it is at the moment. That's all I'm going to say. South Carolina needs their wide receivers to win their one-on-one matchups. Like Beamer said, they had their fair share win against Tennessee, and that's why they won. Juice Wells, Josh Fan. I can continue, but I won't. But Carolina needs to put pressure on DJ Ukulele. I'm going to call him DJ Ukulele because I don't want to put the effort into saying his last name. Because, DJ, we've seen him get pressured before. He got benched for Cade Klubnik, a freshman QB, at least once this season. So I think, DJ, he's a solid quarterback. I believe he led the offense and carried the team almost against Wake Forest when they won that game. However, if you put enough pressure on him, I think there will be cracks. South Carolina needs to keep Clemson on their heels and keep them racing to catch back up in this game. Just like Tennessee, like whenever they won the toss, or the coin flip, I believe they chose to receive. I would do the same thing in this game. Keep Clemson on their heels, because when they get comfortable, that's when they groove. So, if I was Shane Beamer and we won the toss, I would take that ball all day, and hopefully my offense can score quick and get the lead. Once again, about Clemson's secondary, if they rise to the occasion, then their front seven can get to killer mode against SC's run game. We know the offensive line has had penalty issues, especially in big environments like Death Valley. We know they've struggled against physical defensive lines like Arkansas and Georgia, and I think Missouri too. It'll be a disaster if that happens, because Death Valley will be swarming and will cause penalties for South Carolina. I do not doubt that at all. I would not be surprised if we have at least 100, not 100, but at least 50 yards in penalties. Overall deciding factors are both rushing defenses, QB play, wide receivers versus secondaries, and who dominates the trenches. Clemson is looking for a playoff spot right now, as well as protecting their 40 home game win streak, longest in college football. Hopefully we can break it. And South Carolina is looking for revenge off the 30-0 shutout last year. I was at that game, one of the saddest moments of my life. It was just disappointing. It wasn't even sad, it was just disappointing at that point. Just didn't know what to say. Final prediction. Of course, there's going to be bias here. The odds are not in our favor. But I think if we play like how we did last week and our defense just gets improvements throughout the week and we play good, I think we pull off the upset with the momentum of last week and our great offensive game. And we win 31-28 with total score of 59 points. So that is my prediction for the Palmetto Bowl. I noticed there's not much trash talk going on, but that's probably because we don't know who's going to win. So, thank you for watching. This is first downs, fourth downs, and touchdowns. Go Gamecocks. Let's beat the Tigers.